"The convoy must stop, Mr. President. There are mines on the road." The exhausted village woman Fatima stood breathless in the middle of the road, her arms spread wide. The driver of the presidential convoy slammed on the brakes. As the guards pointed their weapons at the woman, Ibrahim Traore lowered his car window. "What's happening?" Fatima's eyes showed fear and determination. "Mines were planted after the first curve, Mr. President. I saw them. They were waiting for you." As Traore's guards eyed the woman suspiciously, an explosion erupted in the distance. Everyone froze. Fatima's words were true. The explosion echoed across the dusty savannah, sending birds scattering into the clear African sky. Ibrahim Traore's security chief, Colonel Diallo, immediately barked orders into his radio, while guards formed a protective circle around the president's vehicle. "Get the president out of here! Secure the perimeter!" But Traore remained calm, his eyes fixed on the woman standing before him. Who was she? How did she know about the mines? And most importantly, why would she risk her life to warn him? "What's your name?" Traore asked, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. "Fatima Ouedraogo, from Kongusi village," she answered, her weathered hands trembling slightly. "Please, we must hurry. There are more explosives ahead." Something about her eyes, a mixture of determination and raw honesty, made Traore trust her instinctively, but his security team wasn't convinced. "Sir, this could be a trap," Colonel Diallo whispered urgently. "She could be leading us into an ambush." The thought hung in the air like the dust kicked up by their sudden stop. Was this humble-looking woman part of a more sinister plot? Traore studied her worn clothing, calloused hands, and the sincere fear etched into her face. "How did you know about the explosives, Fatima?" he asked. Her answer would determine whether they followed her advice or treated her as a threat. "3 men came through our village last night," she said, words tumbling out quickly. "Foreign accents. They paid for rooms at the old guest house. Before dawn, I saw them loading strange metal objects into a truck. I followed them because..." She paused, her eyes downcast. "Because my son disappeared 3 months ago. I follow every stranger, hoping to find news of him." Traore felt a pang in his chest. The disappearance of young men was all too common in regions where terrorist groups recruited. "I watched from the hillside as they planted those things in the road," Fatima continued. "They mentioned your name, said today would change Burkina Faso forever." She pointed toward the sharp curve ahead. "I ran back to the village right after. Nobody believed me. They called me crazy woman. But I knew. They wanted to kill you." Traore nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Colonel Diallo, listen to the woman. We're changing course." "But Mr. President, we have a schedule for the official visit. She could be lying to us." "If she were lying, that explosion wouldn't have happened," Traore said firmly. "We're going to her village. We can gather more information there." Fatima's eyes lit up with hope. "Thank you, Mr. President. I will show you the way." The convoy quickly changed route, leaving the main road for a narrow dirt path. The vegetation grew increasingly dense, the open areas of savanna giving way to thicker brush. In such surroundings, there were hundreds of hiding places for ambushers. How could they be sure Fatima's village was safe? One of the guards whispered, "This woman is taking us to a perfect place to get killed." But Traore's instincts told him differently. Over the years, he had learned to read the truth in people's voices, the honesty in their eyes. This woman was leading them to safety, not danger. Still, there was much he didn't know, and there might be undiscovered lies. When the village appeared on the horizon, it looked peaceful. Children played in the open area. Women went about their daily tasks. Contrary to what Fatima had said, there were no signs of danger. Traore's doubts resurfaced. What if this was a different kind of trap? As the convoy approached the center of the village, an elderly man hurriedly approached them. His expression was filled with concern. "Fatima, thank God you've returned. Soldiers were here. They searched everywhere. Fatima's face paled. When? Just now. They came in trucks. They questioned everyone. They were asking about you. Traore and Diallo exchanged meaningful glances. Maybe Fatima was right after all. These soldiers, they weren't your soldiers, Mr. President, said the old man, noticing Traore. Their uniforms were different, and their accents were foreign, Fatima completed. I told you, this is an assassination attempt. Warning bells began ringing in Traore's mind. Assassins could be watching them from the hills surrounding the village, perhaps even from within. The convoy was exposed, vulnerable. Gather the villagers, he ordered. We need to collect information. As the security team assembled the villagers in the village square, Fatima approached Traore. Look, she whispered. Only our elder Bakari saw them. The others are afraid. They won't tell you much. Why aren't you afraid? Traore asked curiously. A fire burned in Fatima's eyes. Because I want my son back. And you, Mr. President, are my only hope of getting him back. This answer surprised Traore. What do you mean? Where is your son? I don't know, but he disappeared the day those foreigners left. My son Hamidou, he was always your fan. He would listen to every speech you made. One day I'll be like him, mother, he would say. I'll protect our country. Fatima's voice trembled. Tears welled in her eyes. Then one day, those foreigners came to the village. Hamidou talked with them. The next day, he was gone. He left a note. Mother, I'm going to fight for Burkina Faso, but my heart tells me he was deceived. Traore sighed deeply. He knew all too well the tactics extremist groups use to lure young men. Some were deceived in the name of patriotism, some for money, others simply for adventure. But all eventually became part of a cycle of violence. Fatima, he said slowly, I can't promise I'll find your son, but I will do everything I can. And for saving my life today, I am grateful to you. Fatima studied him carefully, then nodded. I believe you, Mr. President. You've given hope to our whole country. Hamidou felt that. I feel it too. In the village square, Traore questioned the old man. The men Bakari described didn't belong to any known terrorist group operating in the region. Their accents were European, perhaps Eastern European. Their uniforms were official, but bore no country's insignia. Mercenaries, Diallo muttered. But hired by whom? Whose toes have we stepped on in the last month? Traore asked, lost in thought. Mining companies, former colonial powers, some leaders from neighboring countries. Diallo shrugged. The list is long, Mr. President. But one name circled in the president's mind. Barrios Mining Corporation, the company operating the largest gold mines in West Africa. Last month, Traore had canceled their license and initiated the process of nationalizing the mines. CEO Raymond Dubois had called it a declaration of war. Dubois, Traore said quietly. He's the only one with both the power and motivation to do this. Just then, automatic gunfire erupted from a distant hill. Bullets hit the dusty soil of the village square. Villagers screamed and scattered. Protect the president, Diallo shouted, positioning his men. Traore grabbed Fatima by the arm. Come, we need to get to safety. Fatima shook her head. No, Mr. President, you should go. I need to help my village people. As the firing continued, Diallo directed the president toward the stone church, the sturdiest structure in the village. Traore watched as Fatima gathered the elderly and children, guiding them behind houses, away from the line of fire. That woman is extraordinarily brave, said Diallo, ushering the president into the church. And smart, added Traore. She could have left us to die on the main road instead of bringing us here. Thanks to Fatima, we now know the identity of our enemies. The church walls were thick and sturdy. Traore called for reinforcements on his radio, but the nearest military unit would take at least an hour to arrive. Until then, they had to defend the village. As the attackers surrounded the village, an idea formed in Traore's mind. Diallo, find Fatima who's gathering the children and young people of the village. I have a message for them. 10 minutes later, a surprising sound rose from every house in the village, from rooftops, even from the well, through handmade megaphones. Mercenaries! All Burkina Faso military units who hear this are on their way. Surrender, or you will end your lives here. The sound was so loud it echoed in the hills. The attackers looked around in confusion. Suddenly, the entire village began making the same sound. Drums, pots, pans, any noise-making implement. The wave of sound unsettled the attackers. It worked. The attackers began to retreat, indistinct figures quickly disappearing over the hills. Traore smiled as he emerged from the church beside Diallo. Sometimes, the best weapon is fear. An hour later, when military reinforcements arrived at the village, there was no trace of the attackers. However, the equipment they left behind, Eastern European-made weapons, specialized communication devices, and most importantly, a laptop, would reveal their identity. As Fatima helped the wounded in the village square, Traore approached her. "You saved my life, Fatima Ouedraogo," he said sincerely. "Burkina Faso is grateful to you." "I only did what was right, Mr. President," Fatima said modestly. "We will find your son," said Traore, his voice determined. "And just like his mother, he can help protect our country." Traore's words weren't just a promise. 2 weeks later, in a small coastal town, captives were rescued from a mercenary camp. Among them was Hamidou, deceived but still alive. When the young man was reunited with his mother, Fatima's tears flowed with hope and gratitude. But the real surprise came later. Ibrahim Traore visited the village to present Fatima with a medal and a check. The check was enough to complete Hamidou's education. "Sometimes, the most extraordinary heroism comes from ordinary people," said Traore, addressing the villagers. "Fatima Ouedraogo's courage saved not only my life, but perhaps also Burkina Faso's progress on the path to independence." From that day on, Fatima's story was told throughout the country. She wasn't just a village woman anymore, but a hero of a nation. The brave woman who made Ibrahim Traore stop on a mined road. And perhaps more importantly, Fatima's simple courage had shown that in the complex political world of West Africa, even ordinary people can make a difference. Sometimes, all it takes to change the course of the world is being in the right place at the right time and having the courage to do what is right. The investigation of the laptop revealed more than just the identity of the mercenaries. It contained files linking them directly to Barrios Mining Corporation and its CEO. International arrest warrants were issued, and Raymond Dubois was apprehended trying to flee to a country without an extradition treaty. The scandal rocked the international mining community and strengthened Traore's position in nationalizing the mines. 6 months after the failed assassination attempt, the first mine fully operated by Burkina Faso's national mining company began production. At the opening ceremony, standing beside Traore on the podium was Fatima Ouedraogo, now appointed to the board of directors of the company as a representative of the people. Her son Hamidou stood proudly in the audience, wearing the uniform of a student at the National University. "Today we begin a new chapter in our country's history," Traore announced to the gathered crowd and television cameras. "Our resources will benefit our people, not foreign corporations. And we would not be here if not for the courage of one ordinary woman who did an extraordinary thing." The audience erupted in applause as Traore gestured for Fatima to step forward. Her shy smile and humble demeanor hadn't changed despite her new position of influence. She remained the same village woman at heart, concerned only with the welfare of her family and community. "I never dreamed I would be standing here," she said simply into the microphone. "I only wanted to save lives that day. Now I see that I helped save more than just the president. I helped save the future of our children." As the crowd cheered, Traore knew that the story of Fatima Ouedraogo would inspire generations to come. Not all heroes wear uniforms or carry weapons. Sometimes, they are simply mothers who refuse to look away when danger threatens, who find courage in the love they carry in their hearts.